The ice shattered beneath him, and in an instant he was submerged, clutching a drowning polar bear cub as its mother loomed just feet away. She could have attacked. She didn't. What she did next will shock even those who thought they'd seen everything. But first, let's go back to the beginning. The wind sliced through the white void like a blade, howling with the rage of something ancient and cold. The tundra stretched endlessly in every direction, barren and merciless, a stage built from ice and silence. But the silence had been broken. It had fractured like the very ice that groaned beneath Dakota's massive paws. She was not running. She was fighting, heaving her body forward across a slick and treacherous shelf of blue-white death. Her breath came in huffs of steam, eyes wide with something deeper than panic. It was instinct, the raw, primal terror that grips a mother when her child disappears. Aspen had vanished in an instant. One moment pressed against her side, warm and safe despite the cold, and the next, he was gone, swallowed by a sudden fissure that spider-webbed outward like a trap sprung from beneath. The sound had been like a gunshot, but sharper, more final, the cry of the earth splitting open to steal life. Her cub's tiny body surfaced once, paws thrashing, eyes wild with confusion and fear. He made no sound at first. Then came the cry, not just a whimper, but a desperate, high-pitched scream that cut through the Arctic wind like a knife. Dakota's heart, long hardened by famine and loss, shattered. She roared. The sound was fury. It was grief. It was a command to the world itself to give back what it had taken. She charged toward the hole, but the ice betrayed her weight. It buckled, snapped, and shifted beneath her pads, sending her skidding. Her claws screeched against the surface, carving shallow lines as she fought for grip. The water lapped at the edges now, slush churning where her cub sank deeper. She reached the edge and froze. Any further and she'd break through, too. Muscles quivered, torn between reason and desperation. The ice was thinner here. She could feel it. One more step might doom them both. But what was she to do? To watch him die? Dakota whimpered, an alien sound for such a mighty beast. It was a sound of helplessness, of horror, of love. Above, the man stood still. Daniel Carter didn't breathe. Every part of him screamed to stay back, to let nature take its course. But what he saw wasn't nature. It was a mother losing her child, and that was something he understood all too well. The wind lashed at his face, sharp as glass, but Daniel Carter didn't flinch. His boots punched into the crust of snow as he sprinted downhill, every step a defiance of the logic that had always governed his work. Observation, not interference. That was the sacred line. One crossed only by fools or by the desperate, and he had long lived with the weight of both. He had come here alone, with nothing but a pack, a camera, and ghosts. Ghosts that clung to the corners of his silence, that haunted the lull between snow gusts, that woke him in sweat-drenched panic each night since the river took his daughter 5 years ago. He hadn't reached her in time. He hadn't jumped. But now there was another child, slipping beneath the surface of an unforgiving world. This time, he wasn't too far away. The mother bear, Dakota, towered over the jagged break in the ice, her massive form both majestic and terrifying, her breath huffing like steam from an ancient engine. Her muscles were taut, coiled with indecision. Fear glinted in her dark eyes, not of the man charging toward her, but of the void, the sudden rupture that had taken her cub. She let out a growl that rose, broke, and faded into something quieter, rawer. Daniel slowed as he neared her. He knew what she could do, how swiftly she could kill a man if she chose. But he also saw something else, not a beast, but a mother brought to the edge of powerlessness. And that was the crack he stepped through. He dropped to his knees, not in submission, but in solidarity. His hands rose slowly, fingers splayed, the universal signal of peace. "Easy." His voice was low, unsure. "I'm here for him." She bared her teeth, but didn't charge. She watched. Something in her trembled, her instincts in collision. He was prey, and yet he was reaching for her cub. Daniel crawled closer. The ice beneath him spoke in ominous creaks. Every movement was a test, every breath a risk. He could see Aspen now, barely afloat, a white smear in the blackness, his limbs flailing slower than before. The cold was winning. Daniel's heart hammered. He didn't think. He didn't calculate. He committed. A surge of motion, a final push forward. His weight crashed down onto the brittle ice with a hollow, thunderous crack, and then the world gave way. The ice shattered like glass under a hammer, the crack reverberating through the stillness with a finality that silenced even the wind. Daniel dropped like a stone, plunged into darkness, the Arctic water seizing him in an iron grip. Cold wasn't even the word, it was obliteration. The moment he hit, the breath was yanked from his lungs in a violent, instinctive spasm. But his hands didn't search for escape. They reached for the cub. Aspen was sinking fast, a limp blur suspended in the green-black murk. Daniel's vision tunneled, limbs burning, as he lunged downward. He caught fur, wet, coarse, slick with icy brine, and clutched it tight. For a split second, the boy in him, the father, begged the universe not to let it be too late. And the cub moved. A weak kick, a choking breath. They broke the surface together, gasping as the air met their lungs like broken glass. Daniel kept one arm wrapped under the cub's belly, the other struggling to paddle. But the current was strong beneath the ice, tugging them toward the jagged edge where water met death. The shore seemed miles away, though it was only feet. The ice shelf, split and crumbling, offered no handhold. His hands began to fail. The tremors weren't fear, they were defeat creeping in, muscle by muscle. The water was drawing warmth, strength, and will from his bones. The cub whimpered, its tiny body a dead weight against his chest. His mind flared. Not again. The memory struck without mercy. His daughter, Madeline. Summer River, swift and cruel. Her scream echoing over water too fast to fight. His hesitation. The moment he froze. The moment that never stopped playing in the dark theater of his dreams. He had run too late, dived too slow, but not this time. Above, Dakota prowled the edge, indecisive, panting, a colossal beast racked by an emotion that had no place in textbooks. Helplessness. Her eyes locked on Daniel's. Time stretched. Then she roared, not in rage, but in resolve, and lunged. Her jaws closed around the thick shoulder of his parka. He screamed, expecting pain, but there was none. She didn't bite. She pulled. The fabric strained, the ice groaned, but the combination of muscle and desperation worked. Together, man and beast hauled the cub over the jagged edge and onto solid ground. Daniel collapsed face first in the snow, gasping, limbs twitching, drenched and half-frozen. The cub squeaked, stumbled, and crawled into the curve of Dakota's body, trembling. And then something unthinkable happened. Dakota turned, walked to Daniel. Her breath was warm against his cheek. She lowered her massive head and touched her nose to his forehead, softly, deliberately. Not curiosity. Acknowledgement. Then she stepped back into the white wind, cub at her side, fading like a ghost into the snow. The fire popped, sending embers spiraling upward like fleeing spirits, their glow briefly warming Daniel's weathered face before dissolving into the Arctic gloom. He sat hunched forward in a heavy flannel, still damp in places from the endless thaw that came after near death. His hands, scarred and pink from frostbite, were cradled around a chipped enamel mug of black coffee gone cold hours ago. Behind him, wind raked across the outpost walls, groaning like some ancient unseen predator still hunting in the white vastness beyond. But here, in this small cocoon of flickering light and creaking floorboards, the world had narrowed to something intimate, almost sacred. The laptop screen across from him showed the paused frame everyone now knew, a silhouette of a bear, monolithic, maternal, standing beside a cub just beginning to find his footing. And in the foreground, a man on his knees, soaked and gasping, as the camera, still miraculously recording, tilted sideways in the snow. The moment before Dakota touched her nose to his forehead. That fraction of a second, the contact, blurred, distorted by frost on the lens, but unmistakably there. It had been shared over 90 million times. "Do you believe she knew what she was doing?" the anchor had asked earlier, her voice tight with that rehearsed blend of wonder and skepticism. He'd answered slowly, each word deliberate, as if anything less than truth would diminish the sanctity of what had happened. "I don't know if bears believe in mercy," he had said, eyes distant, voice low. "But I know what I felt. And it wasn't instinct. It wasn't randomness. It was recognition." The internet had torn itself in two. Conservationists praised his courage. Scientists argued over animal cognition. Pundits called it romanticism. A senator tweeted it was a hoax. But amidst the noise, amidst the debates and dissected frames, something quietly bloomed in the hearts of those who watched. Not the clip, but the gesture. The pull. The press of fur to skin. The silence between them. Older viewers especially wrote letters, emails, voicemails too choked to finish. They spoke of sons they'd lost, of animals they'd once feared but now saw differently. They spoke of miracles. And then there was the last frame, grainy, shaky. Dakota and Aspen in the distance, framed in snowfall. Just before vanishing into the blizzard, the mother bear turned, and for the briefest heartbeat, bowed her great head toward the lens. It didn't matter if it was real. It mattered that people believed.